Hey everyone, welcome back. Today, we're diving into Agile software development.
Oh, Agile.
Yeah.
Might sound a little techie at first,
Right.
but stick with us.
Yeah, exactly.
Because even if you've never written a line of code in your life,
Right.
the principles that we're going to unpack today can seriously level up your communication and project skills in any field.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's what's so cool about Agile is
Yeah.
it's really more of a philosophy than a rigid set of rules, right?
It is, yeah.
It's all about kind of embracing change and focusing on delivering value quickly and continuously.
Yeah, and imagine trying to build a skyscraper
Oh, wow.
all at once, right? That's
Yeah.
how traditional project management kind of works.
Right.
Agile is more like
Okay.
building a Lego tower,
I like this.
brick by brick.
I like this analogy.
Constantly checking to see if you're still on the right track.
Okay, yeah, that's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. So in the world of software, two of the most important bricks are user stories and acceptance criteria.
Yeah.
And our sources today are diving deep into these.
Right.
And I'm just curious to learn how they can help teams build software that actually hits the mark.
Think of user stories as the what,
Okay.
and acceptance criteria is like the how well
Yay.
a user story describes what a user wants to do and why.
Right.
While acceptance criteria spell out exactly what needs to happen for that story to be considered complete.
Oh, okay. Got it.
It's like having a blueprint and a quality control checklist all in one.
Oh, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
You know what? I actually tried applying this user story idea to a personal project recently. I'm planning a trip.
Right.
And instead of just saying I want a relaxing vacation,
Yeah.
I wrote, as a stressed out traveler,
Right.
I want to spend a week unplugged on a beach so that I can recharge and come back feeling refreshed. And it actually really helped me focus on what I really wanted out of the trip.
That's a perfect example. And it really highlights how the user story format forces you to think
Yeah.
from the perspective of the user,
Right.
whether that's a customer or a stakeholder
Right.
or even yourself.
Yeah, totally.
Your sources also mentioned this handy template.
Oh, yeah.
As a user role,
Right.
I want feature,
Okay.
so that benefit.
Yeah.
It's simple,
And simple.
but it's surprisingly powerful
Yeah.
in getting those creative juices flowing.
For sure. So I'm guessing these user roles
Yeah.
can be pretty diverse.
Absolutely.
We're not just talking about software users here, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
You could have user roles like marketing manager, sales rep,
Okay.
or even event planner.
Got it.
It all depends on the context of your project, right?
Right.
Remember that the key is to identify who will be interacting
Right.
with whatever you're building or planning and understand their needs and their motivations.
Okay. So let's say we've got our user stories nailed down.
Okay.
How do we ensure that everyone is on the same page about what done actually looks like?
Right.
That's where acceptance criteria come in, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
Acceptance criteria provide that crucial level of detail,
Okay.
right? Turn
Yeah.
vague desires into concrete, measurable outcomes.
Right.
For example, one of your sources uses the scenario of building an e-commerce site.
Yeah.
A user story might be, as a customer, I want to be able to save my billing information
Yeah.
so that I can check out faster next time.
Yeah. I've definitely abandoned online shopping carts because I'm I don't want to fill out all these forms again.
Exactly. But how do we make sure, right,
Yeah.
that saving billing information is done right?
Yeah.
That's where the acceptance criteria come in.
Right.
One criterion might be, given I am a logged in user, when I enter my billing information and click save, then my information should be stored securely and automatically populate the billing fields on my next purchase.
Okay, so it's each acceptance criterion is mini test
It is, yeah.
to make sure the feature's working as intended.
It is, yeah.
Our sources keep mentioning this given, when, then format.
Yeah.
Is that the gold standard for writing acceptance criteria?
It's a very popular
Okay.
and effective format
Okay.
because it breaks down each criterion
Right.
into a very clear, logical sequence,
Yeah.
making it easy to understand and to test.
Got it.
Think of it as a recipe for success, right?
Okay.
Given sets the stage, when describes the action,
Right.
and then specifies the expected outcome.
So given I have a craving for cookies, when I mix flour, sugar, and chocolate chips, then I should end up with a delicious batch of cookies.
Precisely.
Okay.
Except in software development.
Right.
We're dealing with lines of code instead of cookie dough.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. I'm starting to see how this whole user story
Right.
and acceptance criteria thing can create a shared understanding
Right.
between everyone involved in a project.
Absolutely. And that shared understanding is crucial in Agile.
Yeah.
Especially, right, when you consider how important adapting to change is
Right.
in this framework, right?
Yeah.
If everyone is interpreting requirements differently,
Right.
it can lead to wasted effort.
Right.
And a final product that kind of misses the mark.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So it's like having a common language that everyone can speak regardless of their technical background.
Exactly. And speaking of language,
Yeah.
you might be wondering what the deal is with this INVEST acronym that keeps popping up in your sources.
Yeah. You know me. Always curious about those intriguing acronyms.
Of course.
So what does INVEST stand for?
Okay. So
And why is it important for crafting killer user stories?
INVEST is like a checklist
Okay.
to ensure your user stories are clear,
Okay.
actionable, and contribute to a successful project.
Mm.
Each letter stands for a key characteristic of a good user story.
All right. Hit me with the breakdown.
Okay.
What does each letter represent?
First, we have independent,
Okay.
meaning a user story should be self-contained
Right.
and not dependent on other stories.
Okay.
This allows for flexibility in development, right?
Right.
As stories can be tackled in any order.
So kind of like those Lego bricks we were talking about earlier. Which one can stand on its own?
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
Next is negotiable.
Okay.
A user story
Right.
isn't a contract set in stone.
Okay.
It's a starting point for discussion and collaboration
Right.
between the development team and the stakeholders.
Yeah, I can see how that's super important in Agile where, like, we're constantly
Yes.
iterating and refining our plans based on feedback and
Yeah.
changing priorities.
Exactly. Now, V stands for valuable.
Okay.
This one's crucial.
Right.
A user story must deliver value
Okay.
to the user or to the business. Otherwise, why are we even building it?
Right. It's like, what problem are we trying to solve?
Exactly.
If there's no clear value proposition,
Yeah.
then it might be time to rethink the story altogether.
Exactly.
Okay.
Next, we have estimable,
Okay.
which means that the development team can reasonably estimate the effort required to implement the story.
Oh.
If a story is too vague
Yeah.
or too complex,
Right.
it becomes very difficult to gauge how long it will take to build.
So it's all about having enough information
Exactly.
to make an informed decision about timelines and resource allocation.
Precisely. S stands for small.
Okay.
We want to keep our user stories small and manageable so they can be completed within a sprint.
Okay.
This is basically a short, focused development cycle
Right.
in Agile.
So it's back to that idea of building in increments
Exactly.
rather than trying to tackle everything at once.
Exactly. And finally, T represents testable.
Okay.
A good user story should have clear acceptance criteria that allow us to objectively verify whether it's been implemented correctly.
So it's not just about building something, it's about building something that meets the defined standards
Exactly.
and actually works.
Exactly.
Proclaim-
Precisely. Invest might seem like a lot to remember,
Right?
but it really boils down to writing user stories that are clear,
Yeah.
concise, and focused on delivering value to the user.
Okay, I'm sold on iNvest,
Good.
but I'm curious to see this in action.
Yeah.
Our sources mention some real-world examples of user stories and acceptance criteria.
Absolutely. Shall we dive into those
Let's do it.
and see how these concepts play out?
Yeah, I'm ready to see how these bricks come together to build something amazing.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so we've covered the basics of user stories and acceptance criteria, and I'm already seeing how powerful these tools can be.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to get my hands dirty with some real-world examples.
Okay.
You know, our sources have a bunch of these, and I'm especially intrigued by the ones outside of software development. It's
Oh,
like,
yeah.
how can I use this stuff in my everyday life? You know?
That's the beauty of these Agile concepts.
Right.
They're surprisingly versatile, right?
Yeah.
Remember that trip planning user story you created earlier?
Yeah, the stressed out traveler one.
Yeah.
It actually helped me realize I
It
needed
was.
to be more specific
Yeah.
about what unplugged meant to me.
Yeah.
Like, did it mean no phone at all?
Right.
Or just limiting social media?
There you go. You've already hit on a key principle of writing effective acceptance criteria,
Yeah.
being crystal clear and avoiding ambiguity.
Right.
Vague language is a recipe for disappointment, right?
Yeah.
Especially when other people are involved.
Okay, so let's say I wanted to write acceptance criteria for that unplugged vacation user story.
Right.
How would I make sure it was, like, super specific?
Think about like measurable outcomes, right? I mean, instead of saying, I want to limit social media, you could say, given I'm on vacation, When I feel the urge to check social media,
Yeah.
then I will instead spend 15 minutes reading a book or journaling.
Ah, I see.
Yeah,
So it's not just about setting like a vague intention. It's about defining a concrete action
exactly.
I'll take to achieve that intention.
It's like creating a mini plan
Right.
for how you'll respond to those inevitable temptations
Right.
or distractions.
Yeah, for sure. And our sources also have some interesting examples from the world of business.
Okay.
There's one about a marketing team launching a new product.
Yes, that's a great illustration of how user stories can go beyond software features.
Okay.
The user story in that example is, as a marketing manager, I want to create a compelling landing page for our new product
Yeah.
so that we can generate leads and drive sales.
Makes sense, but I'm guessing compelling could mean different things to different people.
Excellent point.
How would we write acceptance criteria
Right.
to ensure everyone is on the same page?
Yeah.
About what makes a landing page truly compelling.
A vague word like compelling needs to be broken down
Go.
into measurable criteria.
Okay.
One criteria might be, given a visitor arrives on the landing page, when they scroll down,
Yeah.
then they should see clear calls to action to download a product brochure or request a demo.
So it's about identifying those key actions we want visitors to take
Exactly.
and making sure the landing page design supports those actions.
Exactly.
Okay.
Another criterion might be, the landing page should load in under 3 seconds on both desktop and mobile devices.
Okay.
We're getting specific about performance here, right?
Right.
Which can be crucial
Right.
for user experience and conversion rates.
These examples are really bringing it home for me.
Yeah.
It's not just about like abstract concepts.
Right.
It's about practical ways to ensure
Yeah.
clarity and alignment in any project.
And that's one of the most powerful things about Agile.
Yeah.
It's a framework for thinking and communicating effectively.
Right. But just like any framework, there are common pitfalls to watch out for.
Okay, let's talk about those pitfalls.
Okay.
Our sources list several.
Right.
And one that caught my eye was the danger of writing user stories that are too big
Right.
or too small. Like,
Right.
what's the sweet spot?
It's like Goldilocks and the porridge.
Okay.
You want a user story that's just right.
Okay.
Too big and it becomes overwhelming and difficult to estimate.
Right.
Too small and you might end up with a bunch of tiny stories
Right.
that don't add up to a meaningful outcome.
So how do we know if a user story is too big? Like, what are the warning signs?
One red flag is if a user story takes weeks or even months to complete.
Okay.
Remember, in Agile, we aim to deliver value in short iterative cycles, typically called sprints.
Right.
A good rule of thumb is that a user story should be achievable within a single sprint,
Got it.
which is usually around 1 to 2 weeks.
Okay. So if I'm writing a user story that's going to take a team 6 months to build,
Yeah.
probably time to break it down.
Yeah. Exactly. The smaller chunks.
Think of it like planning a road trip. Instead of just saying, I want to drive from New York to California,
Right.
you'd break it down into manageable daily destinations.
Right.
Each stop represents a smaller, more achievable goal.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But how do we know if a user story is too small? What's like the downside of having overly granular stories?
When user stories are too small, you risk losing sight of the bigger picture.
Okay.
You might end up with a bunch of disconnected features
Right.
that don't provide a cohesive user experience.
So it's like having a puzzle with like 1,000 tiny pieces.
Exactly.
You might be able to assemble it,
Yeah,
but it's hard to see the overall image.
precisely. The key is to find that balance,
Right.
breaking down complex tasks into manageable chunks
Right.
without losing sight of the overall goal.
Okay, so we've talked about story size.
Yeah.
What are some other common pitfalls to avoid
Okay.
when writing user stories? Another common mistake is including too much technical detail
Okay.
in the user story.
Okay.
Remember, we want to focus on the what and the why from the user's perspective,
Yeah.
not the how of the technical implementation.
I'm guessing that's where trusting the development team comes in.
Exactly. Instead of dictating specific technologies or approaches,
Okay.
let the developers use their expertise to find the best solution.
Right.
A user story shouldn't sound like a technical specification document.
Right. So instead of saying like the system should use a NoSQL database to store user data,
Yeah.
we might say as a user, I want to be able to easily access my data from any device.
Exactly. That's much more user-centered and allows for flexibility
Right.
in the technical implementation.
Okay, I'm taking notes here. Avoid overly technical language.
Yeah.
Trust the experts. What else?
Another pitfall is writing user stories that are too vague
Okay.
or ambiguous.
Right.
Remember the compelling landing page example?
Yeah.
We need to make sure our user stories and acceptance criteria are clear and measurable.
So instead of the website should be easy to navigate,
Right.
we might say a new user should be able to find the product they're looking for within 3 clicks.
Perfect.
Okay.
You're thinking like a true Agile pro.
Okay, good.
The more specific and measurable, the better.
Right.
Vague language can lead to
Right.
misunderstandings, missed deadlines,
Yeah.
and a final product that doesn't meet everyone's expectations.
Okay, I'm definitely seeing how these pitfalls can derail even the best intentions.
Yeah.
But before we move on,
Yeah.
I'm curious about like the flip side.
Okay.
What are some of the biggest benefits of using user stories
Okay.
and acceptance criteria in Agile development?
Well,
Like, why should we put in all this effort?
the benefits are huge.
Okay.
First, user stories and acceptance criteria foster a culture of collaboration
Right.
and shared understanding between the development team and the stakeholders.
Yeah, it's like we're all speaking the same language.
Exactly.
Whether we're designers, developers, marketers, or product managers.
Exactly. And by focusing on the user's perspective, right,
Right.
we ensure we're building products
Yeah.
that are not only functional,
Right.
but also delightful and relevant
Right.
to the people who will actually use them.
So it's not just about like cranking out code.
Exactly.
It's about solving real problems for real people.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And let's not forget about the power of breaking down large, daunting tasks
Right.
into smaller, more manageable chunks.
Right.
This makes it easier to, track progress,
Yeah.
estimate effort,
Yeah.
and adapt to changing priorities.
Right.
All essential ingredients for success in today's fast-paced world.
It's like that old adage, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Precisely. And speaking of bites,
Okay.
our next topic is sure to whet your appetite
Right.
for more Agile knowledge.
Right.
We're going to explore the fascinating world of AI and its potential role in writing user stories.
Oh, this is where things get really futuristic.
Yeah.
I'm eager to hear what you have to say about that.
Yeah.
But before we jump into that,
Yeah.
let's take a quick breather and revisit that question we posed earlier
Okay.
about applying Agile principles to personal goals.
Yeah.
What did you come up with? Did any ideas come to mind?
I'd love to hear your thoughts first.
Sure.
What personal or professional goal have you been working towards?
Well, I've been wanting to get back into playing the guitar.
Okay.
I used to play a lot in high school,
Right.
but life got in the way and I haven't really touched a guitar in years.
Okay.
It's something I've always kind of regretted. And I keep telling myself I'll pick it up again someday.
I think that's a fantastic goal.
Yeah.
And it's a perfect example of how we can apply Agile principles
Yeah.
to achieve our personal aspirations.
Okay, I'm all ears. How would I turn this vague desire to play guitar again
Okay.
into a concrete plan
Right.
using Agile?
Well, just like with any Agile project, we start with a user story.
Okay.
In this case, you are both the user and the developer.
Okay.
What's the first step you'd need to take to get back into playing guitar?
I guess the first step would be to dust off my old guitar
Okay.
and make sure it's even playable.
Yeah.
It's probably been sitting in its case for a decade.
There you go. That's your first user story. As a rusty guitarist, I want to retrieve my guitar from the attic
Right.
and make sure it's in playable condition so that I can start practicing again.
Okay. That's a lot more actionable than just play guitar again.
Right.
But what about acceptance criteria?
Okay.
How do I define playable condition?
Think about the specific outcomes that would indicate your guitar is ready to rock and roll.
Okay.
For example, given I've retrieved my guitar from the attic, when I inspect it, then the strings should be intact, the tuning peg should turn smoothly,
Yeah.
and there should be no visible damage to the body or neck.
I love it. It's like giving myself a checklist
Right.
to ensure my guitar is ready for action.
Exactly.
What would be like a good next step after that?
Well, you probably don't want to jump straight into playing complex solos.
Right.
Remember, Agile is all about breaking down big goals
Right.
into smaller, more manageable steps.
Right. It's back to those bite-sized chunks.
Yeah.
So maybe my next user story could be, as a beginner guitarist, I want to learn 3 basic chords so that I can start playing simple songs.
Exactly. And you could define acceptance criteria like, given I have a chord chart, when I practice for 30 minutes each day, then I should be able to play the G, C, and D chords cleanly and smoothly by the end of the week.
This is making so much sense. It's not about like instant perfection.
Right.
It's about setting realistic goals.
Exactly.
Tracking progress. And celebrating those small wins along the way.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And just like with software development, you can adapt your development plan. As needed, right.
Right.
Maybe you find that 30 minutes of practice is too much to start with.
Yeah.
Or you need to spend more time on one particular chord.
Right.
That's okay.
Right.
Adjust your plan and keep iterating until you find what works best for you.
This is making me excited to dust off my guitar and get started.
Yeah.
And I'm realizing that this Agile approach can be applied to so many different aspects of life.
Yeah.
Not just personal goals.
Absolutely. Whether you're planning a project at work, organizing your home, or learning a new skill, the principles of Agile can help you achieve your goals more effectively.
Okay. I'm officially an Agile convert.
Good.
Now, I'm really curious to hear how AI is shaking things up in the world of software development.
Let's dive into that next.
Okay.
Get ready for a glimpse into the future of Agile.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring user stories and acceptance criteria. Seeing how these Agile building blocks can construct everything from software to personal goals.
Right.
But now let's step into a world where those bricks might be laid by artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
It sounds like sci-fi.
It does.
But our sources suggest AI is already playing a role in how Agile teams work.
It's one of the most exciting developments in the Agile space.
Yeah.
Tools like ChatGPT are being used to assist with everything.
Okay.
From generating user story ideas to actually writing the stories themselves.
Okay, hold on. Is this like robots are taking our jobs territory? Are human user story writers about to become obsolete?
Not quite.
Okay.
Think of AI as a powerful assistant, not a replacement.
Yeah. Okay.
AI can analyze data, spot patterns, and suggest potential user stories based on past projects or similar features.
Oh, okay.
Well, this can be a huge time saver for teams, especially when they're dealing with complex systems or a large backlog of features.
So it's like having a super smart research assistant who can gather information and offer suggestions.
Exactly.
But ultimately, the human experts make the final call.
Exactly. Human judgment is still crucial.
Right.
We need to ensure the AI-generated stories align with the overall project goals, the user's needs, and the ethical considerations of the product we're building.
Ethical considerations.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
AI can process data.
Right.
But it doesn't have the same moral compass as a human.
Precisely. That's why it's essential to have humans in the loop.
Right.
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 Reviewing and refining the AI's output.
Right.
We need to ensure we're not just building software that works, but also software that's responsible and beneficial to society.
So it's not just about efficiency.
Right.
It's about responsible innovation.
Yeah.
Our sources also mention potential limitations of AI in this context. What are some of the challenges?
One challenge is ensuring the AI is trained on high-quality data that reflects the specific needs and context of the project.
Right. Because if the data is biased or incomplete,
exactly,
the AI might generate user stories that are off-target or even harmful.
Exactly. It's like the old saying, garbage in, garbage out.
Exactly.
Another challenge is that AI, at least in its current state, can sometimes lack the nuance and creativity that humans bring to the table.
Right.
User stories aren't just about capturing functional requirements.
Right.
They're also about understanding the emotional and psychological needs of the user.
So it's about empathy, understanding the user's motivations, frustrations, and aspirations.
Precisely. And that's something that AI, at least for now, struggles to replicate fully.
But who knows what the future holds?
I know.
AI is evolving rapidly.
Absolutely. And I think the most likely scenario is a future. Where AI and humans work together, leveraging each other's strengths to create truly exceptional products.
Okay, I'm starting to see how AI could be a game changer for Agile teams. But let's shift gears for a moment and bring this back to our listeners. We've talked about applying Agile principles to personal goals.
Right.
Any final thoughts on how folks can put these ideas into practice?
Think of your goals as projects and yourself as both the user and the developer. Break down those big, audacious goals into smaller, more manageable user stories.
Right.
Write clear acceptance criteria to define what success looks like for each story.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to iterate and adapt your plan as you go along.
It's like we've been saying throughout this deep dive.
Yeah.
It's not about perfection.
Right.
It's about progress.
Exactly. And remember, celebrating those small wins along the way can be incredibly motivating.
Totally.
Acknowledge your progress.
Right.
Learn from your mistakes and keep moving forward.
Right.
One user story at a time.
And that, folks, brings us to the end of our Agile adventure.
I know, it's been a long journey.
We've journeyed through the world of user stories, explored the power of acceptance criteria, navigated the potential pitfalls, and even glimpsed into the future with AI.
Absolutely. We hope this deep dive has left you feeling inspired and equipped to embrace the Agile mindset.
Yeah.
Whether you're building software, planning a project, or pursuing a personal dream.
So go forth and be agile, embrace change.
Yes.
Collaborate.
Yes.
And keep those user stories flowing.
Keep them coming.
Until next time, keep those minds engaged.
Yes.
And those sprints productive.